Hello everyone on YouTube, hello, it's been a while, I know, and I don't usually make this kind of content, but I feel like this needs to be addressed. In general, it needs to be addressed. There's been a lot of controversy surrounding this, and me included, there's a lot of things that I kinda dislike, I don't agree with, and some stuff like that. But yeah, we're gonna be talking about the Tekken Talk that happened a few days ago. For some people it was yesterday, for some people 2 days ago, doesn't matter, right? It happened on 23rd of March, 24th of March, something like that. March Tekken Talk. And what I'm going to be talking about is something that a lot of people are not talking about. Because the thing is, a lot of people are usually concentrating on the balance changes, right? So, as you guys can see above, I'm not going to mention balance changes and my opinion of that, or how much I disagree with that, or whatever. And today I'm going to try to focus on a little bit more constructive criticism when it comes to non-balance. Right? I'm not gonna mention the balancing of the game and what kind of decisions they make when it comes to that. So just to get you guys an idea of the vid I'm gonna be making right now, or you're gonna be watching right now, is that I'm gonna be mentioning the problems I saw outside of the balance. And you guys can see the 4 problems I listed are awareness, knowledge, competence, and presentation. And I'm gonna be explaining each one in this vid. So yeah, I have a live examples. I'm gonna literally show you an example of a problem of awareness, knowledge, or whatever I have listed, right? So let's actually do that so you guys can see clearly what I mean by these problems. And I'm gonna try to be constructive about it so I can actually, convey my opinion without sounding too rude, or you know what it means. Constructive feedback, basically. So the first thing I have mentioned there is awareness, right? So the big problem when it comes to awareness, in my opinion, in this presentation or in this Tekken Talk, was that they weren't aware enough for them to change up the counter hit option. Like, for example, a lot of the things they showed here, a lot of them were just counter hits. And they didn't have the awareness to understand that whatever they were showing could be either misinterpreted or interpreted in a way that wasn't genuine enough anyway. So it's basically the same thing. But yeah, I think that was a very, very big problem in this presentation, because showing only counter hit properties of a moves may cause something to have a little bit of a different opinion. That's one, right? They didn't have the awareness to understand that fact. And a good example of that is something like this, right? I'll just show you guys an example of this Tekken Talk. This is the biggest thing, the biggest controversial thing from this Tekken Talk, by the way, this first thing.
So you can have a comparison?
前々前 LKRP って、スラッシュコマンドで出る技ですね。これが普段ヒートじゃない時に出せる。
So for example, the slash kick with a left kick and then right punch following it, that's the normal attack for her.
これがヒートになると
So you guys saw that the counter hit was turned on, right? So just by without one fact, right now we don't know if that low into that follow-up, I think it was a special low rocket launcher thingy, bazooka. We don't know if that was a counter hit string, for example, right? We don't know if it's guaranteed on counter hit or normal hit. I would assume, and most people would also assume, that this is gonna be a normal hit follow-up. But you can also assume that it's only a counter hit follow-up because they mentioned mix-ups in here before, like before they showed this, and they did not mention that low when it comes to the mix-up section. That might be a mistake on their part, because that's also one of the problems that I have listed, knowledge, right? It might be a mistake on their part, but even if it wasn't, the awareness is a big mistake to show this while counter hit being on. So the awareness was completely lacking. That's one problem, right? Already. So let's continue the video.
And during heat,
打つ球の数が増えます。
the number of shots increases.
で、ダメ
So they showcased the heat version of this move, increased shots, which deals a tremendous amount of damage, right? But it has the same problem, which I said, that they still have counter hit on, and they don't even have the awareness to understand what they're showing right now, right? They don't have the awareness to understand what they're showing. Because the thing is, it's a very, very big difference to show something that's this natural on normal hit, which a lot of people are assuming it is. I'm one of them, by the way. I'm also assuming it is a normal hit, because they said nothing, absolutely nothing, to confirm otherwise. But this is also a part of their problem, right? Awareness and knowledge, both of them.
ダメージちょっと見てほしいんですけど、かなり。
So, problem. As you guys can see, the counter hit is like right there. It says counter hit. We see 64 damage. That's a lot of damage. So it will be a very, very big problem. So this just completely explains my first problem with the Tekken Talk. Awareness, right? It's a very, very big problem, and they should be aware of what they're showing. And this has been a problem with other moves as well, of showing counter hit stuff instead of normal hit stuff. Has been a problem throughout this Tekken Talk. This is just one example of it. You guys can see the Tekken Talk yourselves if you want to see more examples, but it has been there a couple of times. Now the other thing, right? When it comes to awareness.
リーナ
減りますね。
しっかり感じの銃攻撃が
あ、そうですね。
Watching.
同じく弾の撃つ数が増えま
So
す
you can see, like her sister, her attacks from the firearm increase during the heat state.
はいこれしかもガードされても特に反撃がないので非常に扱いやすいです
But when blocked, there's no opponent punishes or anything. So you're
Okay, so now they're showing the block state, right? So this is normally how it goes. But the thing is, what Nakatsu is doing, Nakatsu is the one showcasing this, is that he's reading off of something that's saying to, okay, showcase this move, for example, right? Showcase this move on block and on hit. And he doesn't have the awareness to understand that he's also showcasing something that is on counter hit, right? It's not. It might not be a problem because it's normal hit anyway, and they know it's normal hit anyway. But since knowledge is one of their problems, I also show examples on why it's a problem. But this knowledge is one of their problems. They might not know. And that will make this move way, way better. It's not going to be that much better, even if it's only a counter hit, but it's going to make it way better. It is. It's just... It's right now it's borderline broken, and it will be borderline broken if it's a normal hit move.
okay with that. なんか結構チャット欄がうわ oh my god って言ってる
Okay, so now we have to listen to Michael here, right? Michael is the one that's talking. Well, I'm also talking about a problem with presentation when it comes to this, but that's for later.
けどでもこれヒット強化中だからね。
あんまヒート時のみですあと横にそんな強くないので
So, you know, obviously it is during the heat state, so people freaking out in chat, you know, please keep that in mind.
So this statement right now, this is a very, very big problem. So this showcases a problem of three things outside of presentation. So it showcases the problem of awareness, showcases the problem of knowledge, and showcases the problem of competence, right? All three of them. This little sentence he just said showcases all three of these problems. One is that he's not aware enough of what he's showing us right now. He's not aware. Because this is a problem, and the 90% of the players will understand, or people who actually know the game or play the game will understand it's a problem. So he lacks the awareness to see that it's a problem, and he just says it's only in heat. Right? Very, very big issue with that statement, and everyone should have an issue with this statement. The second thing is competence, right? Competence is exactly the same logic. He basically doesn't understand why it's so good. He does not understand it. Because as I said, he says it's heat only. And the knowledge is also self-evident, right? Later
and
on, he also
Nakatsu
says...
mentioned it is a bit weak to sidestepping as well. So
Yeah, he also mentions that it's a bit weak to sidestepping. I'm very scared when he says a bit weak, because that usually means that it's going to track well a little bit, at least, right? So it's not completely linear. So, whatever. So this is just a complete disaster when it comes to awareness, in my opinion, right? They don't have the awareness to what they're showing. They don't have the awareness to understand that they're showing a counter hit instead of a normal hit. And they don't have the awareness to understand that what they're showing can be interpreted as something very, very busted. They don't have the awareness of that. So that's one. As I said, I'm not going to talk about the balancing issues, but this is an awareness issue. Now, second thing. Let's talk about the second thing. I also have a example of this. The second thing is knowledge. So the thing I talk about and what I mean by knowledge is that they don't know what they're actually showcasing and what they're talking about. Like they don't know it or understand it. And a good example of that is that both well, mostly we've seen Michael, but mostly Michael has been questioning some stuff from what he's looking at, like it's the first time he's ever seen it. Like he didn't know this was a change, for example, right? He did not know. And he's literally questioning it. Like, let me just show you an example. Let's listen to this.
見せたいのが
one more.
まあ、シーズン2からこれ全キャラクターなんですけども、
うん、
投げを仕掛けた側が相手に投げを抜けられた場合、投げ抜けダメージが相手に入るようになってます。
おお。
So, one, that was that expression, right? What Michael did right there. It might be an exaggeration. So you might get, oh, you're nitpicking here. He's just saying it to exaggerate it. Okay, let's keep on listening.
抜けられるとダメージが入るってこと
金の相手にダメージ。金
まあ陣の
So, right now, both of them above, the Yasuda Esports and Michael, both of them, Yasuda Esports also talked about it, not talked about, but expressed the reaction like he didn't know, which is fine. Not everyone's supposed to know. But even Michael said, for whoever doesn't understand Japanese, he didn't translate it later. He said that, is it only for king? That's what he said. I know a bit of Japanese, so I understood that. It was very simple to understand. I know that much. And he said, is it only for king? So what does this mean? This means that he did not know this change ever existed. He didn't know. And if you continue listening, he will never translate that. One, which is fine. He might forgot, like whatever, right?
体力見ててください。
Look at Jin's life gauge.
こういった感じで回復可能と、投げを仕掛けた側が相手のガードを読み勝って投げを仕掛けてるので、
なるほど。
回復可能体力でダメージが入る。
So it does a slight damage to your opponent even
Yes.
if they throw escape, but it's recoverable damage.
Okay. So you guys can understand what I mean by being a problem of them not even knowing what they're showcasing, right? At least the two above do not know about it. Nakatsu or Harada might know, but the two above, which is fine, right? I'm not saying all of them are supposed to know or something, right? But it's still a problem. I think, in my opinion, at least one of them should know. They should know all these changes, and especially, I'm going to talk about this problem later, especially the representation we have for like overseas audience is Michael, right? He's the only representation we have that can convey information in English to people, outside of Japan. And for someone like him to not know changes, whatever they're showcasing, I think is a big problem. It's a very big problem. But I'm going to talk about it a little bit later as well. So this is a big problem when it comes to knowledge, but it's also a big problem when it comes to competence. Because I think they should understand that they should know this beforehand. Because if they don't know this beforehand, someone like Michael, for example, found this out literally with us when we watched it. Right? When this went live, he and us found out at the same time, but that apparently throws deal chip damage when you break them. Apparently. So, very big problem when it comes to be honest, all three: awareness, knowledge, and competence. And it's also a big problem that they only showcase this in heat, by the way. So, some people have been telling me that this is heat only, it's not normal, but they never actually specifically mentioned that it's heat only. So that's also a problem. They didn't mention it. But hopefully it is heat only. It will make this a little bit better, maybe. But yeah, it is also a problem. Now let's go to another example. This time it's Jin. It's the same example for the previous points.
こんな感じで切り抜きが起こせ
You
る
can see during Zanshin, right punch goes into the strong tailspin now.
Okay, so what I want to showcase here is for the people who are telling me I'm nitpicking or something like that, they didn't know, they just showcase surprise. This is just another example of that, just so I can be a little bit more convincing. There are a couple more as well, but I just don't want to, watch too many of these examples. So listen to this.
なので、
聞いて中のみだよね。
いやこれは普通にいけます。
Okay, Michael, if you actually listen to him, he did speak in Japanese. What he said is that only in heat? Right? He asked a question to something they were showcasing. Right? So he did not have the knowledge of this update or this change at all. And also, there's a very, very big problem in general that Michael didn't understand, that the moves that don't consume heat usually, aren't heat only. That's one. And second, strong aerial tailspins, usually, anyway, or commonly, are just normal moves. Right? So this is a problem of both competence and knowledge. I'm not sure if awareness. I guess awareness as well. Like, there's a lot of problems when it comes to these four. So the presentation is going to be a little bit later. I'm going to discuss that. I haven't really mentioned that too much.
構えからであればちょっと。
So yeah, he never translates this as well, right? He did ask a question if it was only in Jin, which is not that big of a problem of not translating it, but it's just it's a big problem when you actually see the implications of it. Because the implication of it is that he doesn't know what the changes are, right? He actually doesn't know. He doesn't know what the changes are. He doesn't know because he doesn't know what the changes are. He also doesn't know what they mean. So he does not actually understand the changes as well. He doesn't understand them. Because I'm pretty sure, I'm not quite sure how much of a problem this is. How much does he actually know and how much he doesn't know? How much does he understand these changes and how much he doesn't? Like, did Michael, for example, know the change of the Anna, not change, but Anna's wild running 3? Did he know? Or did he have the awareness that he was showing as a counter hit property? Right? This move is what I'm talking about.
結構チャット欄がうわ Oh my god って
Right? Obviously, as I saw, it is a very, very big awareness problem that he doesn't understand why we see it as a problem. That's a big problem. But yeah, this is just all to convey my points. Hopefully, it was understandable, but there's one thing I still have left to mention, which is the presentation. Right? So the presentation, you guys can very easily understand why it's a problem by just this one clip. So just look at this.
も、課題としてシーズン2に持っていく部分もあったなって収穫は非常にあったと思います僕。攻めてる側が楽しいゲーム性っていうのは、やっぱりテケントのアグレッシブっていうゲーム性の軸なのでそこはあまり変えるつもりはないんですけど、やっぱり一方でシーズン1は守ってる側が非常に窮屈だったり、ヒートシステムが一方的な試合展開を作りやすかったりして、その駆け引きっていう面においてはちょっと守備的な面のバランスがあまりうまくいってなかったと思っているので、シーズン2においてはその 3D 格闘ゲームの横移動を中心とした。
Okay, so you guys can read that. So this dev talk happened, I think, a few days ago before the Tekken Talk happened, and they literally just said, for season 2, we'd like to focus on the defense in terms of the lateral aspects of a 3D fighting game. So the problem with presentation right now is that they said this, but they didn't present it. This might be true when the actual patch notes come out. It might be true. We don't know, right? But they didn't present a single thing that would focus on defense. Not a single thing throughout this whole presentation that was 2 hours and 40 minutes long, right? What they did showcase is more aggression, more 50-50 situations, and basically better heat modes for everyone. While Michael here was just saying that it's only in heat, so it's fine. Like, this is a big problem because if anyone is aware of Tekken 8 and its problems, they will also know that Kuma as a character exists, and Kuma as a character exists and is a problem just because of his heat. So saying that it's only in heat just showcases a very, very big problem in all 4, to be honest. Not presentation, that's different, but all 3 of the problems I listed above, which is, competence, knowledge, awareness, all 3 of those problems. Now, another problem I want to list when it comes to the presentation, which is something I think is very important, is that we need a representative in general that can convey information from Japanese to English, right? Or to convey information to us non-Japanese people in general. And we need a person here out of these 4 who can do that, which in this case is Michael, but who is also either knowledgeable or competent enough, or both, should be both, to actually understand what they're showing us. Because if at least one person here understood that, let's say they understood that they're showcasing counter hit properties almost all the time and never a normal hit property, if they did understand that, maybe they would have showed the normal hit property on this instead. And maybe it wouldn't have been as bad as we literally just saw, as an example, right? But outside of that, obviously there were a lot of problems because the king changes, they were absolutely crazy. Like, that's like a balancing standpoint, which I said I won't be talking about it too much, which I think was a mistake. That's my opinion. It was a mistake to go to this direction. But outside of the problems of the decision making not compared, but decision making made in balancing, there were a lot of problems and mistakes when it comes to the presentation of everything here. Because I think the way you have to present this is you have to have a person here who's competent enough to understand what they're showing to everyone. And not to mention Tekken fans that have been playing for a long time that understand what they're seeing. So now you have to understand the frustration as well. Whoever doesn't understand why we see so much of a big problem with this, and other people like veterans can see such a big problem with this, is that when you see something like Michael say stuff like it's only in heat so it's not a problem, or they see that he actually doesn't know what he's looking at and he's finding it out himself, and then saying to play the game first and then you'll find out when he doesn't even understand what he's looking at, right? Like this is a big frustration in the community and for veterans in general. Because basically he's not doing the competent things, and he also conveys that he's not knowledgeable about this stuff as well. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about today. Hopefully I wasn't like too negative or anything like that. I wanted to like have a little bit of constructive criticism. I like the biggest thing I want to get out of this, I want everyone to get out of this, is that I think that we should have a representative here. Doesn't matter if they speak Japanese or English, right? That really understands the game really well. Because right now, from what I saw in this Tekken Talk, there wasn't a person here who really understood the game really well, just to showcase it to us as well. Because if it's a Japanese person, Michael will just, translate it for us. If it's a person who also speaks English, that would be perfect, right? But yeah, that's like the biggest thing. That would be very good, because if there was one person there that actually understood, he would either explain it a little bit better or why these changes happened, or actually had the awareness enough to showcase normal hit properties, showcase the usage and usability of these moves, instead of just making the whole community go in panic mode. Because that's what happened. Not only because the balancing decision making, right? That might be another problem, which we don't know if it is fully yet. But the biggest problem was the presentation of it and how they did it. Decision making when it comes to the presentation. But yeah, everyone, thank you for watching. This has been a little bit of a rant, but still, I think this was very important to address, because I haven't seen a lot of people addressing the problems of presentation. So here I am doing it. So yeah, thank you for watching, and don't forget, if you don't like the video, dislike the vid. If you also don't like the video, subscribe so you can unsubscribe later. So yeah. Oh, and don't forget, comment hatefully if you dislike the vid. Comment with like the most negative thing you can think of. So yeah, till the next one, guys.